as a state, as a country, to find the common ground. And you won't find it if you're only listening to people that you agree with and that you already know and who've reached the same conclusions you have on the same issues that you care about. Really important that we show up and ask those who disagree with us to share with us what they think the solutions are to these challenges. And you know what? We're going to learn something. And we're going to find that we may have more that we agree on than would otherwise divide us. It's part of the reason that I'm here in this community right now. I know that Democrats are not likely to win this county. They may not win the majority of the vote in this community. However, the folks who live here are just as important as anybody else who lives in the state of Texas. And when we win this election, we want to make sure that we can deliver for Woodville and for Tyler County. And so we come up first to listen, to hear what you've got to say, and to make sure that we better understand this community so we can deliver at the end of the day. Let me see if I can find some common ground. Do you all think that we can do a better job for school teachers and school counselors?
Yes, school teachers!
Do you think that, given the fact that on average the teacher here in Tyler County is underpaid by $16,000 a year against the national average, that we should pay her enough so she only has to work one job instead of 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet? Can you agree that the retired teacher who has not seen a cost of living adjustment since 2004 should get one every single year going forward so she can enjoy her retirement instead of having to work right through it? Could you get behind me if we canceled the STAR test so that we have no more high pressure tests in our lives and can focus on connecting with those kids and unlocking their lifelong love of learning? I want to make sure that when we win this election, we make public education and world-class public schools the priority right here in the state of Texas. How about this? To every woman, to every man who's worn the uniform of this country, who's put their lives on the line for the United States of America, I want to make sure that we're fulfilling our end of the bargain. For the hundreds of veterans who will be experiencing homelessness this night, when we win this election, we will spare no expense. We will lift any burden to make sure every veteran has a roof over their head, is treated with the respect and the dignity that they deserve, that they've earned, and that we owe each and every single one of them. We're going to make sure that those who are coming back right now from Iraq and Afghanistan, who've been exposed to these toxic burn pits, breathing in God only knows what, now having a hard time breathing when they come back here, that we follow the lead of the Vietnam-era veteran who came back to this country, waited 40 years for us to treat exposure to Agent Orange as a presumptive condition for the cancers that they have, for the conditions that make it hard for them to live. Those Vietnam veterans who are first in line to fight for the veterans coming home today, saying, we will no longer wait 40 years for this generation. Here in Texas, we will set up a toxic burn pit registry for every man and woman coming back from these conflicts, connecting them with the care that they need, making sure that they can get on with their lives.
Yeah!
And how about this? For a community that struggles to see a mental health care provider, not enough psychiatrists or psychologists or therapists or social workers in this community, in a state that is 51st in the nation for access to mental health care, which means too many of our neighbors get arrested on purpose. They're untreated, uninsured schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, clinical depression is treated at the county jail, which is our largest provider of mental health care services today. What if we expand Medicaid in the state of Texas?
Yeah.
Bring $10 billion
Do
in a year, connect more people with care, reduce your property taxes in the bargain because you're no longer on the line for uncompensated care at your county hospital. That's something we can do. How about making sure that Tyler County receives the same kind of resources that other communities and counties across the state get? How about making sure that if you need to get online, you can have safe, reliable broadband internet at a high speed that you do not pay an arm and a leg for? Try finishing your education. Try finding a job. Try starting a business if you cannot get online. We are holding back the economic opportunity and job creation in this community. When we win, we're going to make sure that we invest in the infrastructure, including broadband internet right here. We want the best jobs in America created right in Texas, and we want those jobs to be distributed throughout the state, including right here in Tyler County. That's the agenda, folks. World-class schools by getting behind our public school educators, having the backs of the veterans who served this country and put their lives on the line, making sure that everybody can see a doctor or a provider or fill a prescription, and then ensuring that we have great jobs for the folks who want to work them right here. That's our agenda, and that's the contrast towards those who want to tell you what to fear and who to hate and what our differences are. In Greg Abbott's Texas, it's you or me. In our Texas, it is you and me. And let me tell you, I stand for every single one of us. If you're a woman in our Texas, you make your own decisions about your own future. LGBTQ community in Texas, you love who you wish to love.
That's right.
You marry the person of your dreams. Your government will support you. We will not fight you. And for the most vulnerable among us, those who have medically complex conditions, those with intellectual disabilities, those kids in the foster care system right now, where we lost the lives of 100 children in our custody and care since 2020. Those kids going into the classroom 9 weeks after 19 children were killed in Uvalde, and our state government has yet to lift a finger to make sure it doesn't happen again. I'm just here to tell you, we will fight for you. We'll fund the resources for your community. We'll make the important decisions that put our lives, the lives of every single one of us, over the profits and special interests and those who are currently in power. That is what we are going to do together. Thank you for coming out. Thanks for welcoming us so warmly. We wish you all the best going forward. Cynthia's going to take some questions. Well, it's right here. I don't know. Okay, there you go.
And for everybody that's not yelling out of turn, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So we can all get a turn. And there's been some lovely folks that are supporting Abbott that are being very kind. This gentleman right here, from the beginning, has not been yelling out. He promised me. He's been so nice. I really, really appreciate you being here and appreciate you being respectful. Thank you so much.
How you doing, Mr. Beto?
Very good. Thanks for coming out.
Yes, sir. I have a question for you. So, we're very familiar with the history of the Democrat Party. What message are you trying to send, given a speech at Alan Shivers' library, who is a well-known Democrat who supported Jim Crow laws?
Not sure the point that you're trying to make right here, but if you're wondering where I stand on civil rights and voting rights, I want to make sure that this state delivers for every Texan, regardless of the color of our skin, the country of national origin, our gender, our sexual orientation, how recently our families immigrated, how many generations we have been here. In our Texas, everyone is going to be treated equally under the law.
So, to recant, so you say we're all about equality. That's a great thing, great idea. So what explanation can you give for Democrat-ran cities with the most poor population being the black community?
I'll tell you what, we've got a challenge in this state, making sure that everyone can get ahead. And we've got to address this square ahead if we're going to be able to make the changes that we need to change. So let's talk about our education system. I said that we need more funding for our teachers. That's true. But we need more teachers who look like the kids in their classroom, right? In a kindergarten classroom, a black child is 5 times as likely to be disciplined or suspended or expelled as a white kid in that same classroom at the age of 5 years old. I want to make sure that every one of those kids is treated the same. When it comes to our prison system, it is overly represented by black and brown Texans, very often there for non-violent drug crimes, right? We know that Texans of every background, ethnicity, and race use marijuana, for example, at the same rate. Disproportionately, it is black and brown Texans who are stopped, who are frisked, who are incarcerated, who upon release have to check a box on every employment application form saying that they have a conviction. So in addition to legalizing marijuana, I want to expose the arrest records of everybody who has served time because of disproportionately who has been serving the time in the state of Texas. So you're right, sir. There's a lot that we got to correct and overcome. I'm committed to the fight ahead. Thank you.
Great. Again, thank you to everybody for being respectful and taking your turn so we can have a discussion. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Here you go, sir. You're next.
What has been reported is that you just got a big donation from the Soros organization. How, excuse me, thank you. How is your campaign and the state of Texas going to benefit from that donation?
I feel fortunate that in the last 4-month reporting period, we had more than 500,000, 500,000 unique donations. His was one of them. We raised $27 million altogether, $3 million more than the sitting governor of the state of Texas. The largest group of contributors are school teachers from the state of Texas. So I'm going to make sure that we have the resources to run this campaign, to reach every likely voter with our message about great schools, world-class jobs in this state, the ability to see a doctor. We're not going to depend on Fox News telling the truth or you watching MSNBC. We want to reach you directly. The best way for me to do that is to show up in your community. And if I didn't catch you on my visit here, I want to make sure that we have the resources to find you some other way on TV, social media, or through the mail. So we're grateful to everyone who has donated so far.
All right, here we go again.
That's
Thank you,
right.
guys. Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to come to you as soon as I go to this gentleman. Thank you.
Mr. Aurora, thank you for coming. My name is Sal Baldovinos. I represent the concerned citizens of Tyler County. We're a watchdog group here locally. We go for everyone, Republican, Democrat, whomever. We've got 4 commissioners that are Republican who stole federal funding through the ARPA program. As governor, if a report came to you that you had 4 commissioners that are stealing ARPA funds by violating Texas Constitution, Texas state law, and going against the final rule that ARPA put out that elected officials should not collect $3,500. What would you as governor do to thwart that from happening in the future, but also bring down the correct punishment that should happen to these individuals?
Thank you for being here. Does not matter if that elected official in that position of public trust is a Republican or a Democrat. If they break the law, if they engage in fraud or corruption, there will be accountability, there will be consequences, and there will be justice. So I look forward to learning the details about what you're describing here in Tyler County. I want to make sure that we have justice at the end of the day following the power grid failure last February when the governor ordered maximum pricing for electricity. Fuel was sold at 200 times the going rate. 700 of your fellow Texans lost their lives. You may not care, but I do. And all of us are now paying higher utility bills as a result. And those who profited the most wrote $1 million campaign checks to the governor's re-election campaign. The highest office, the most local office. We're going to root out corruption in the state of Texas, ensure there's accountability, and ensure there's justice. Thank you for asking the
We're going to
question.
go to our next question. And it is so nice when folks aren't yelling. Thank you. Again, I'm just going to keep thanking you for not yelling in between of, and we're going to go to everybody. We're going to try to get to everybody. Everybody's important, so just please be respectful. Thank you.
Welcome, Beto.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, my name is Adriana. I came all the way from the Beaumont location, hoping to have a smaller gathering. I'm surprised. I'm so happy to see a bunch of people here. I've been trying to have a law passed for about the last 3 years now. The last legislative session, it did pass the House and the Senate, but it was turned down. In the Education Committee, this law is going to be to require schools to be more accountable for bullying within their districts. This last session, it was called House Bill 1726. Do you believe that a law like that would reduce the amount of bullying that would cause situations like what happened in Uvalde?
Adrian, I want to make sure that I get you an intelligent answer, and I hope what you expect from me as governor is that I read the bill first before I tell you whether I support it or oppose it. It has to be reintroduced. Great. So I want to make sure that we get your contact info. Cynthia's going to share our email address. Send me the text of that bill. But to the larger issue of bullying, we are seeing an epidemic right now in mental health care crisis in our schools,
Yeah.
suicidal ideation, and not just ideation, unfortunately, attempts that young people are taking with their own lives. I want to make sure that we do everything we can, whether it's mental health care support, social and emotional learning, full wraparound services in our schools, and then doing what we can to prevent bullying from peers in those classrooms so that we can literally keep those kids alive.
Yeah, this
Give me the
bill-
chance to read your bill, and then
Yeah.
I'd love to get back to you with
This
an
bill would
intelligent
make
answer.
schools have to report it to the state. That way they're held accountable they don't have as much latitude to self-govern bullying within their districts.
Gotcha. So she's telling us, just to repeat what you said, that districts would be required to report this instances of bullying up to the state so there's greater accountability and you're not isolated and hopefully self-governing and hopefully doing the right thing. Maybe sometimes hope is not enough and there's got to be some accountability in that process. That seems to make sense. Let me just make sure that I get a chance to read it.
Well, right here. I represent the Tyler County Republican Women, and my question has to do with the Second Amendment and your desire to take all guns away from everyone.
Let's allow her to talk, please. Let's be respectful.
I have been quiet.
Let's be respectful.
I have a concealed handgun license, and I carry when necessary, okay? I do not feel that the gun itself is the problem. My gun can sit on my table all day long and never kill anyone. It's in the hands of the person holding it. We need to take care of the mental health and those people and not take the guns away from good, honest people who try to protect themselves. I am elderly, my husband's elderly, we live in the country, and we have guns to protect us. And I think everyone has the right to protect themselves with the gun that they choose to have.
Thank you for being here. Really appreciate getting to hear your question and the way that you see things. You mentioned that you have a concealed carry license. We used to be the pride of the country, in my opinion, with our license to carry program, which required, if you wanted to carry a gun in public, go through a background check, you get some training so that we ensure that you're proficient in it. You're vetted in case you're a danger to yourself, to your family, to folks in the community. Over the last 5 years, law enforcement in the state of Texas has 38,000 different times denied a license to carry to one of our fellow Texans. They deemed that person too dangerous to be armed and loaded on our streets. Now that we no longer have that because Greg Abbott signed permitless carry, anyone can go out there with that firearm, no background check, no vetting whatsoever. You know who stood up most loudly against that? It wasn't the Democrats, it wasn't the Republicans. It was law enforcement. Police chiefs, sheriffs, their deputies, their officers said, you know, Mr. Governor, with all due respect, this is going to make our job a lot more dangerous when we no longer know who is carrying on our streets. More cops have been gunned down in the state of Texas than any other state. We have predictably seen a spike in gun violence. Let me share you, let me share. You know, when Greg Abbott comes and has the next town hall meeting here, I'm sure he does it all the time. Maybe bring that bullhorn and tell him how you feel then. But right now I'm trying to answer your friend's question right here. So here's my position. I want you to have that firearm. I want you to be able to defend and protect yourself in your home. I also want us to do a better job of protecting the people in our lives. You're not okay with those 19 kids being killed. You're not okay with those 23 people who were murdered in that Walmart in El Paso, or the 8 people who lost their lives in Midland, Odessa. We're not inherently violent. We're not bad people. We don't want to kill each other. That's just not who we are at the end of the day. I just don't think we have laws that match our values. Here's how I think we can defend the Second Amendment while still protecting one another's lives far better than we do today. What if we had a true universal background check, not just at a licensed gun dealer, but whether you go to a gun show or a private seller, there's a background check. What if, two, we had a red flag law so that if you have a firearm and you're threatening to kill somebody in your life or go into a school, we can get that firearm out of your possession before you use it against somebody else? What if we raise the age of purchase of an AR-15 from 18 to 21 years old so somebody can't walk into a school like Uvalde and take those 21 lives? These are common sense steps. And listen, at the end of the day, we're going to have to find some common ground. I know that you disagree with me. I may disagree with your conclusions. You're just as important as I am. We're both Americans. We're both Texans. We want to do the right thing. Let's find the common ground.
Thank you again. Thank you for listening. Beto, this gentleman was across the street. We invited him in. Very respectful, very kind. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful.
Beto, my question is, are we a nation of laws?
Absolutely.
We are a nation of laws. In our nation of laws, we have a constitution. We not only have a federal constitution, but we have a state constitution. So when did we start passing laws based on feelings? Because I went down through the Bill of Rights, and I sat down and I give Constitution 101 classes, but I went down to the Bill of Rights and showed what every single right in the Bill of Rights is being violated by the federal and state governments. Now my question is, and is pertaining to, we'll go back to answer their questions. Y'all quit being so noisy back here because we'll get the questions answered. My question is, when do we become a nation of emotion, starting to write laws when the Second Amendment, not only it's the only amendment in the Constitution that actually has the words shall not. Now, shall not, the Founding Fathers didn't think they had to define shall not because shall not is pretty definitive. Now, you said we need to find common ground. Well, when you start passing red flag laws would be okay if they were specific. But none of the red flag laws that are passed right now, even at the ones just passed in Washington, are very specific. They leave things too wide open. So if this young lady right here, I'm scared of him, he's got a gun, he threatened me, he said some mean words to me. For that man up here is going to come to my house, disarm me without any proof, based on her word. And that's the way our red flag laws are written right now. That's the problem most people have with red flag laws. When you start asking us to raise the age from 18 to 21, I'm an old Marine. My father was Marine. My mother was Air Force. I had 3 brothers in the Navy. Nobody told us when they sent us off to war, I had to be 21 to own an M16 fully automatic. And now they want to come after my AR-15 because it looks scary. There is nothing about my AR-15 other than the looks that are comparable to an M16 or an M4. Nothing. I wished it was. I would love to own an M16 or an M4. But everybody out here, you keep saying, let's pass laws to, if I go to a gun show, I cannot go buy a gun at a gun show without going through a background check. That's the myth that y'all keep portraying. Let's pass gun laws where we already have to pass background checks. Our background checks, when we go to buy one, we go through background checks. We're already passing the background checks. And you're asking us to concede our rights based on emotions. We're out here watching our borders get flooded. I moved from a town that was flooded by illegal immigrants. The gang problems got so out of hand that me and my wife picked up and moved to Tyler County because of the gang problems. I want to know, you keep telling us we need to concede our rights. Where do you stand as our next governor?
Thank you for being here. Thanks for asking the questions. I'm going to try to take as many of these points as I can, as quickly as I can. You mentioned the Constitution and your work on it and the fact that you teach it to others. So, as you know, not any single one of our rights is unqualified. We're all exercising our First Amendment right today. I'm here with the microphone. We requested space and time at this library, followed your laws in this community to do that. When law enforcement said, hey, there's too many people to get in there, we said, great, we'll split the meeting in half. We'll have half out here, half out there. You're exercising your First Amendment rights with the bullhorn and yelling and stuff when I'm trying to talk. That's fine. That's your right under the Constitution. But were you and I in a movie theater, and there were hundreds of people with us, and you stood up and yelled fire when there was no fire, That is not protected under the First Amendment. You said the Second Amendment contains shall not be abridged. It also contains the words infringed. Also contains the words a well-regulated militia. Okay, so what is that regulation? No, I'm going to answer the question that you asked. I'm going to answer the question that you asked. I'm going to answer the question that you asked. We as a country have always decided that there is a line. Can you carry a howitzer, a grenade launcher, an M4, as you said, on the streets of this town? No, you cannot. Because this country has decided, including Justice Antonin Scalia, the most conservative justice in the recent history of the court, that the Second Amendment is not absolute. There will always be some kind of line that reasonable people can agree on. In 1934, we decided that fully automatic machine guns were on the wrong side of that line. We made it nearly impossible. It's legal under some really tight loopholes that you have to get through, but almost impossible to own a fully automatic machine gun. You ask, well, what's different, Beto, about an AR-15 or an AK-47? Listen to the physicians who were there to meet the bodies of those kids that came in from Uvalde. They had to identify them by their DNA or the shoes that they were wearing, because that high impact, high velocity round, that firearm that was designed to kill an enemy soldier, because it was designed for war at 500 feet to penetrate the helmet that they're wearing, was up against kids at 5 feet with no helmets on their head. You don't need it to hunt. You don't need it for self-defense. You need it to kill human beings on a battlefield. Keep that weapon on that battlefield. That's my point of view. That's how you and I differ. But listen, reasonable people can come to different conclusions on the same issue. You also asked about immigration. You asked me a bunch, and I just want to make sure I'm respectful to you and get back to all of them. You asked me about immigration and the immigrants who are coming here, you say, to start gangs and commit crimes and make us less safe. I live in El Paso, Texas, which is on the border with Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. El Paso, where 24%, a quarter of those that I live with, were born in another country, has been one of, if not the safest cities in America for over 20 years. Not in spite of the immigrants, I would argue because of those immigrants. But I bet where you and I can agree is that we do not have a safe, legal, orderly path for people to come here to work or to join family or to seek asylum. I want to make sure that we get that done and then focus on those who really want to do us harm, who want to bring fentanyl here, who want to traffic in human beings, who may threaten our communities in other ways. If we have immigration reform written on Texas terms, then we're going to be able to focus on the problems that we legitimately have. I agree with you that we need to do something about it, and we're not getting that job done so far. So I appreciate you coming out.
All right, everybody, thank you again. We have one more. We're going to end with this gentleman who's been very patient. Thank you to everybody that's listening patiently and waiting your turn. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take it so simple, take it back to education. So I think everybody can agree with us on the education, talking about that. So when you become governor and it becomes a TEA, your appointment to that position, will they be able to go ahead and see eye to eye as to kind of what you want to go ahead and go with what we got going on? Because there's no doubt, obviously, paying for teachers and everyone that works in the school district is what's really important, and everything else that kind of comes with it. I'd like to see it move from where it's at to kind of more mainstream as to what we all should be worried about right now. So that's my question. What's your appointment to TEA?
Great question. It's about how we appoint the next education commissioner in the state of Texas, one who reflects our values. The simple answer, one that I get, and I think the best one for the state of Texas, is we appoint a classroom teacher to be the next TEA commissioner. She will know that we don't need that STAR test. She will know the teacher pay we need to set. She'll know how to treat those retired teachers and to show respect to those in the classroom, in the counselor's office, in the libraries, the support personnel, the folks who make public education possible in our communities. Thanks for asking the question. I think we have one last question.
She has a
Bonus round.
beautiful comment at the end.
Yes, thank you so much, Beto. My name is Ariana, and I was speaking with Brianna over here because I have my baton, and I grew up as a twirler here in East Texas. Whenever I was growing up here as a girl, I felt very empowered. But I've noticed that a lot of girls and young women lately don't feel as empowered as they used to be. So I was wondering, I know that you have a daughter, what you tell her to be more empowered, not just, kind of like in everything, like socially, educationally. What do you tell her?
What a great question, Ariana. Thanks for coming out here, and to Brianna and the folks who joined you. My daughter Molly's going to start her freshman year of high school on Monday, which is nuts. That's day after tomorrow. And I just tell her, look, I expect the world from you. And there's nothing that is going to hold you back if we have anything to do with it. When she joined the baseball team, when she was in 5th grade, she was the only girl on that team. The coach benched her more innings that he didn't. Never really had faith in her for whatever reason, maybe because she was a girl. I said, you've got to advocate for yourself. We're going to advocate on your behalf, but this is going to be some part of your future going forward. Folks are going to expect less of you simply because you're a girl. We expect the most of you, regardless of any difference between you or anybody else. We want her to hold that not just in athletics, but in academics, in everything that she pursues. And we feel the same way, by the way, about her brothers. But to bring it to what we're doing here today, that also needs to be reflected in our laws, right? How we treat one another through our government. You know, unfortunately, that in Texas, a woman working the same job as a man is typically paid a fraction, even if she provides the same value in the workplace. So getting to pay parity is really, really important. Want to make sure that women in the state of Texas can make their own decisions about their own body. That you have bodily autonomy for your future, for your health care. You know better than I ever will what's most important to you and what you need to do. And I want to make sure that we as a state and as a government respect that. Listen, everyone here, Republican, Democrat, we are freedom loving. We cherish our independence. We just had a great conversation about the Second Amendment just now. The gentleman who asked the question could not have been more polite, came over, shook my hand. We came to different conclusions on this issue, but for him, I can tell his liberty, his freedom, these constitutional protections are paramount. I feel that same way about you and your rights that have been under protection for the last half century that have now been taken from you. So fighting for you, fighting for Molly, my daughter, fighting for all of us, that's why I'm here right now. I mean, I'm here because this is a beautiful community. I love this place. You all are amazing. But I'm in this race because I know that we can do so much better. And you and the young people of this state are counting on us right now. And I want to make sure that we come through. Thank you for coming out.